Some stories don't knock before entering your life, they kick the door down. Sometimes, it starts with a whisper in the dark, a shadow in the hallway, or a childhood memory no one takes seriously. Until others begin to remember it too. What once seemed like a figment of your imagination suddenly has a name, a face, and witnesses. In this gripping and unsettling narrative, you'll uncover a series of paranormal events that span generations, transform lives, and curse entire places with eerie silence. It all begins with strange childhood experiences and culminates in the haunting presence of the Virgin of the Ashes, a ghostly figure that rises from a fire and begins to haunt a cursed piece of land, a place so dead even the weeds won't grow. But before you dismiss any of this, remember every part of this story comes with witnesses, accounts, and a deafening silence from those who swear they don't believe in that kind of thing, yet lock their doors tight at night. Is it all just trauma, superstition, and coincidence? Or is there something out there, something just beyond what we can see? You'll have to read to find out. And even then, don't expect to sleep with the lights off. You're about to dive headfirst into a mystery that blends childhood, doppelgangers, faith, tragedy, and so much more than words can explain. The real question is, how far are you willing to go? When I was little, I saw things no one else seemed to notice. It usually happened in the late afternoon or deep into the night, when the house was quiet, too quiet. Once, I saw a girl standing near my bed. She wore a nightgown, her hair covering part of her face, and she stared at me like she was waiting for something. I screamed. My mom rushed in, looked around, flipped on the lights, and in that tired, dismissive voice said, "It was just a dream, sweetie." But it wasn't. I know what I saw. These sightings didn't happen often, but they never left me completely. One time, I saw a man standing still in the kitchen, as if waiting for the coffee to finish brewing. I was around 7. I told my mom, and she sighed, blaming it on my imagination. Said I'd been reading too many weird books. Maybe I had, but not even the creepiest horror story matched the chill I felt in that moment. As I got older, the visions became less frequent, but they never really stopped. The strangest part was how they always seemed tied to the rhythm of the house, like these figures were stuck in some endless loop. The girl would always appear in the same spot. The man, always by the stove. I started to wonder if they were echoes from a different time, memories trapped in the walls. Maybe our house had a secret, something the adults didn't want to face. And there's more. No matter how much I tried to forget or pretend it was just a kid's imagination, some moments left marks. I remember one night waking up with the clear sensation that someone was pulling my blanket. No one was there, but my heart pounded so hard I thought I'd pass out. That's how it starts. A shadow here, a whisper there, and suddenly your childhood becomes a stage for the paranormal to play. The scariest part? Realizing maybe I was never truly alone. It happened on one of those nights when the silence feels unnaturally heavy. I woke up needing to use the bathroom, and as I stepped into the hallway, I saw the silhouette of my mother at the far end. She stood still, her back to me. Loose hair, white nightgown, just like how she slept. But something was off. She wasn't moving. Not even breathing. It was like she was frozen in place. Still, I whispered, "Mom." And that's when terror took form. The figure turned its head first, then its body, but the movements were stiff, broken, like a puppet on invisible strings. The face looked like my mother's, and yet, it didn't. The smile was wrong, too wide, too fixed, and the eyes were empty, unblinking. I was paralyzed. I had never felt fear like that before. When I finally screamed, my real mom came running from the other side of the house. The thing in the hallway vanished, like it was never there. After that, I started doubting everything, even reality itself. I didn't know who or what I could trust. The idea that someone or something could mimic my family and walk around my house, watching me, was unbearable. I began avoiding dark hallways. I left lights on at night. My dad called it trauma. My mom blamed the horror movies. But it wasn't that. That thing that double kept following me for years. Sometimes in dreams. Sometimes in mirrors. The feeling of being watched never really left. And maybe the most disturbing part is that deep down, I knew it wasn't all in my head. The paranormal doesn't always come with thunder or slamming doors. Sometimes, it arrives quietly. It copies. It confuses. It tests what you think is real. Even now, whenever I walk through a dim hallway, I remember those hollow eyes, the face that looked like my mother but absolutely wasn't. Years went by before I told anyone in the family about what I saw. It happened on a rainy afternoon, during a casual chat with my older sister. I laughed nervously as I told her about the figure in the hallway that looked like our mom but wasn't. What I didn't expect was her reaction. Her eyes went wide. She froze for a few seconds, then said, "You saw her too?" She explained that one night, she woke up thirsty and saw Mom standing at her door, back turned. She called out, but got no answer. When she got up to check, the figure vanished. And the weirdest part? Mom had been asleep on the couch the whole time. Her story was identical to mine. That shook me more than any ghost. This wasn't just my imagination, something real was lurking in that house. As time went on, more stories came to light. Our younger siblings also had vague memories of someone standing silently in their doorways. Always still. Never speaking. Just watching, like they were waiting to be acknowledged. One of them said he thought it was just a recurring dream until he overheard us talking about it. It was like unlocking a vault of forgotten memories. In a strange way, it was comforting to know I wasn't the only one carrying that fear. Those shared experiences connected us in an eerie way. Anytime the topic came up, we'd see the same haunted certainty in each other's eyes that figure was real. And worse, it wanted to be seen by all of us. It was like it belonged to the house, a kind of silent shadow that fed on our silence. No one knew what it was, but we all knew exactly what we were talking about. And to me, that was proof that we were dealing with something far beyond our understanding. The story takes a sharp turn when Sandro enters the picture, a homeless man known around the neighborhood, mostly invisible to the adults, except for the kids, who found his awkward manner amusing. Sandro lived in an abandoned lot near the old factory, a place everyone avoided once the sun went down. People whispered that it was a heavy place, cursed even, ever since an old accident no one really talked about. But the mystery only came to life after a fire. One humid morning, a small crowd gathered at the lot, drawn by smoke and curiosity. There they found Sandro on his knees in front of a charred wooden plank, pulled from the ashes. On its blackened surface, burned into the wood, was the clear image of a woman's serene expression, hands clasped, a long veil cascading to her feet. Some swore it was the Virgin Mary. Others said it was just a burn mark. But it only took one word to ignite the crowd: miracle. People started showing up with candles, rosaries, holy water. Some made promises. One woman claimed her leg pain vanished after touching the board. Sandro, once just the bum from the lot, suddenly became a central figure, almost a guardian of the sacred. And he seemed to believe it. He spoke with passion, as if chosen for something. Whether it was faith, madness, or the scars of a life spent forgotten, no one could say. But his devotion to that image was almost moving. The lot, once avoided like a plague, became a makeshift shrine. Yet behind the prayers and flickering candles, a strange unease lingered. Some said they saw shadows shifting among the debris. Others claimed the air grew colder near the board. It was as if the land itself had awakened and taken on a new identity, both holy and haunted. No one expected that this so-called miracle might be the start of something far more disturbing. As interest in the site grew, the local church began to take notice. That's when Father Marcio stepped in, a young priest, recently assigned, full of ambition and eager to correct what he saw as spiritual confusion. One Sunday afternoon, he showed up with authority in his posture and fire in his words. In front of everyone, he called it a coincidence, an illusion burned into wood. Real faith, he said, doesn't live in scorched planks. People didn't know whether to bow their heads or throw stones. Sandro had been watching from a distance and said nothing until the priest picked up the board and announced he would dispose of it, as one should with false idols. That's when Sandro sprang forward, pleading with him not to take what, to him, was a true miracle. The priest, torn between pity and dogma, handed the board back with disdain. He told Sandro he could keep it as long as he stopped feeding this senseless idolatry. From that moment on, something in Sandro changed. He withdrew completely, abandoned the few followers who still visited. He lived in silence, barely visible, murmuring to himself prayers, conversations, no one could tell. People said he hid the board at the far end of the lot, in a corner even sunlight avoided. And in that silence, the first whispers began. Sandro wasn't alone anymore. The community, once intrigued, now kept its distance. To them, the lot was cursed once again. But now, it held something deeper, the weight of rejected faith, and of a man who clung to the image of a burned, silent woman. Those who dared wander close said the atmosphere had changed, the air heavier, the sounds more distant, and always that feeling of being watched. As if something had awakened inside that charred ground. Over time, strange rumors started swirling around Sandro. He was no longer just the bum from the lot now, he had company. Children said they saw him talking to a woman. But not just any woman. She was tall, cloaked in a dark veil that covered her face and body entirely. Someone jokingly called her his ghost girlfriend, but the name that stuck heavier, whispered with unease, was the Virgin of the Ashes. Everyone described the same thing, a silent presence standing beside Sandro, always still, always watching. Some claimed she only appeared at night. Others swore they saw the two walking hand in hand through the ruins. And strangely enough, the way Sandro spoke about her with tenderness, reverence, made the whole thing sound almost believable. As if, in his mind, this entity wasn't just real. She was sacred. No one could say exactly when she began appearing, but from that point on, tension in the neighborhood thickened. Cats started vanishing. Dead birds showed up near the lot's crumbling wall. Parents forbade their kids from going near, even during the day. Of course, curiosity always wins with kids. A group of boys, trying to prove how brave they were, climbed over the wall one afternoon. They came back pale, shaking. They said she was there standing in the ashes, staring straight at them. They never went back. Sandro, meanwhile, was slipping further away from the world. He stopped talking to anyone but her. One neighbor swore he heard chanting from the lot one night, a strange litany, followed by a hoarse, feminine voice answering softly. That sealed it for most people. The Virgin of the Ashes wasn't just a story. She was real. Dark. Maybe summoned. Or maybe she had always been there, waiting for someone to notice. It happened on a suffocating Sunday night. The sky turned orange as flames erupted from the lot. You could see the fire from blocks away, and soon the whole neighborhood was at their windows, frozen in disbelief. No one called the fire department right away. Maybe it was fear, maybe just shock. The fire didn't spread. It stayed focused, devouring only the makeshift shack where Sandro slept. And Sandro didn't scream. Didn't run. He stayed there, kneeling in the center of the flames, as if waiting for something or someone. And someone did appear. Neighbors swear they saw her, the veiled woman, standing calmly in the fire and smoke, directly in front of Sandro. Tall, cloaked in shadows, unmoving. She didn't speak. Didn't gesture. Just watched him. And the fire didn't touch her. One woman screamed that it was the Virgin of the Ashes. Others just stood there, unable to look away, caught between horror and awe. When the firefighters finally arrived, it was too late. All that remained were ashes and Sandro's body, charred but still in a kneeling position. There was no sign of the woman. No trace of the sacred board. Oddly, the fire hadn't spread beyond the shack. It was as if something had contained it, as if the flames had followed a boundary only they could see. And that, more than anything, chilled the neighborhood to the bone. This hadn't felt like an accident. It felt like a ritual. A farewell between a man and the ghost he gave everything to. That night, everyone understood that the story had crossed a line. It wasn't just weird anymore. The tragedy left behind fear and silence. Nobody really wanted to talk about what they saw. Some tried to rationalize it. Others lit candles and prayed. But all of them, without exception, stopped walking past the lot. It was as if something had been sealed there. Something old. Something awake. And those who saw it were never quite the same. After the fire, no one wanted to deal with what was left behind. The lot became an open wound in the neighborhood, visible, yet ignored. A few bold residents came together and built a wall around it, almost like a desperate attempt to trap in whatever was still lingering there. But it didn't change the air. That weight, that strange silence that fell over anyone walking by it remained. As if the land itself was breathing. As if it was waiting. The name Virgin of the Ashes became something people whispered, not said out loud. Kids were forbidden from even mentioning her, as if just saying the name could invite her back. And Sandro? He turned into a ghost story. A shadow in the town's collective memory. Some said had made a pact. Others believed he was cursed by a vengeful spirit. But most people simply didn't want to dig too deep. That place, once just forgotten, now had a label no one dared challenge: cursed. They tried to sell the land, but no one wanted it. Not private buyers. Not developers. Not even the city. Anyone who approached it said they felt sick, nausea, headaches, dizziness. One worker fainted during an inspection. After that, all attempts stopped. The lot was left alone. Nature started to reclaim it, but strangely, only to a point. The center, the exact spot where the board had first appeared, remained untouched, as if protected. Or preserved. Nowadays, people walk faster when they pass by. Those living nearby avoid looking directly at the wall. And every now and then, new stories surface. Someone swears they saw a woman in a black veil, walking behind the fence at night. Others hear a faint chant, drifting from the overgrown grass. No one investigates. No one goes near. The only thing everyone agrees on is this: ever since Sandro and his silent fire, that lot stopped being just abandoned ground. It became a place where even forgetting is afraid to enter. And now, after everything you've seen, the real question is, do you still think it was all just coincidence? A child's imagination. A homeless man lost in delusion. A burn mark on a piece of wood. Easier to believe, right? We love to label the unexplainable, wrap it up neatly, tuck it away where it can't reach us. But deep down, some questions keep pulsing. Quiet. Uncomfortable. Alive. How many memories have you buried, afraid people would think you were crazy? That figure at the foot of the bed. Those footsteps in the hallway. That eerie feeling that someone was watching you. Maybe you've forgotten, but your body remembers. And maybe, just maybe, what we call the paranormal is simply reality that hasn't yet learned how to explain itself. A truth echoing from the parts of life we've ignored for too long. Sandro's story and hers isn't just about ghosts. It's about abandonment, twisted faith, pain no one listened to. It's about how places absorb what we go through and echo it back in forms we can't understand. And it's about how an entire community chose silence over confrontation. Because really, who wants to admit that something sacred or something evil might be walking among us, veiled, hiding in the corner of a forgotten lot? And you, what have you been avoiding? Which parts of your story lie buried, waiting to be uncovered? Maybe it's time to stop running from what haunts you and start listening. Because the stories are there. The witnesses are real. And sometimes, all a mystery wants is to be acknowledged. If this story moved you, stirred something in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to keep exploring the strange, the spiritual, and the unexplained, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Every story has layers and each one can change you.